In this lesson, I want to introduce another component lifecycle method, and this one is called componentDidUpdate. So let me write out the name right here. I'm going to declare it the exact same way that I declared componentDidMount. It's simply an instance method that we define within our class body. This one is called componentDidUpdate. So, as the name suggests, this lifecycle method will run when the component updates. So one thing that immediately makes this lifecycle method very different from the one above is this one has the potential to run multiple times during a component's existence. In comparison, the componentDidMount lifecycle method will only run once when the component is mounted on the DOM. This one will run whenever the component updates. So what does it mean for a component to update? It basically means one of two things. Either the state changes or the props and their values that are flowing into a component are changing. As a reminder, props are those values that we can pass from a parent component into a child component. But that's just one example of a component update. Another more common example is the state changes. So what does that mean for us? It means that every time we call setState in this component, this lifecycle method will run. Very similarly to how React will automatically run the render method every single time that state changes, similarly, React will always run this method as well when the component updates through an update-like state. It's also important to note that this lifecycle method does not run when the component initializes or mounts for the first time. It only runs on update. That's why it's called componentDidUpdate. React is allowing us to specify an additional thing to do when the component has updated itself. So when would we want to use something like this? Well, let me give you an example. Let's say that we have a product manager at our company, and they come to us and say, we want to keep this app and we want to keep the exact same functionality where the user types a character and is able to filter the employees, but we want the backend to be responsible for the filtering. So rather than doing the logic in JavaScript, what they want us to do is to send a new request to the backend with every character that the user types, and then they want the backend to filter the results for us. The way that's basically going to work is the user is going to type a character, and then we make a new request to the backend. The backend gives us a new employees array that consists of those filtered employees, and then we simply render that batch on the screen. We basically remove this logic from our current component. Now, the good news is our JSON server mock backend already supports this functionality. We're going to be able to implement that logic simply by adding a couple configuration options to the get method. But the more important takeaway is, where would we put that kind of logic? When the user types a character, we're going to update the search term state property right here as a reminder, which means the component is going to update. So where is the perfect spot to make that API call to fetch those new filtered employees? Well, a perfect spot is in a lifecycle method like this, right? This is another example of a side effect. It's something that needs to run on the side as something additional because the React component is focused on rendering, right? But we also need to be able to step in or intercept critical moments like this in order to do additional logic. That's what a lot of these lifecycle methods help us with. So when the search term state property updates, this will always rerun. In fact, when any component state property updates, this will rerun, which allows it to be the perfect spot to make an API call. Okay? So let's see how this is going to work. Eventually, right here, we're going to make the request and override our employees array, which means before I forget, right here in my render method, I'm going to get rid of all this logic right here. We're not going to do the filtering on the front end, which means down below, we're simply going to iterate over employees right here, because employees will either be our original array from the backend or the filtered array that we will also get from the backend. We're going to use this state property to represent both of those scenarios. So for example, the backend will give me 5 cards. I'll type a character, we'll make a request. The backend will send me a new array of 3 employees. I'll override the state, and then I should have 3 cards on screen. So let's begin by wiring up our logic. It's going to be very similar to the logic we wrote a couple lessons ago. So I'm going to take this URL and copy and paste it right here. We're once again going to use the get method, and we're going to start off with the .then syntax, and then we'll refactor to async await in the next lesson. So once again, we're going to provide the URL here. And then this time around, I'm going to provide a second argument to the get method of a JavaScript object. Here, I'm going to put a property called params, and that is how we can provide parameters to the backend, which is basically just a collection of key value pairs that we can send to the backend. And the way that our JSON server works is if we have a param with the name Q, which is short for query, that is what it's going to use in order to filter the results from that endpoint based on whatever this term is. So in other words, this filtering functionality is already built into JSON server as long as we provide the value of Q here. So what is Q going to be? It's going to be whatever the user has entered, since that's what we need to filter. And we can, of course, get that value by referencing this .state.search term. So if, for example, the user types the character A, then we update the component state and the search term property to be A. Because the state has updated, this will rerun, and thus we'll send a new request to our backend with Q set to the string A, and then our backend should respond with the next filtered batch of employees. All right. So once again, I'm going to attach a then method right here. I'm going to provide a function in line, and we know that that function will receive a response object. And then what I want to do is the exact same thing I did previously. I'm going to get the employees. And once I get that, assuming I can spell, I'm going to get the employees from response.data. Then I'm going to call this.setState and provide the new employees array, which should in theory save the state and update the corresponding cards based upon however many employees there are in this filtered collection. All right. So hopefully this makes sense so far. But as it turns out, there is a fatal flaw in our code. This is actually a disastrous little bit of code. And I want you to take a second to think about why. Remember, our componentDidUpdate lifecycle method will run whenever any piece of state updates. Okay? So when the user updates the input and gives us a new value for the search term, that's totally fine. So this logic is totally great. But right here, what we're doing on line 33 is once again triggering a state update by updating the employees array. That means this is considered a component update by React, which means React is going to say, hey, the component did update. Let me trigger this lifecycle method to run again. So what's going to happen? The method is going to make another request with probably the same search term as it had originally. It's going to get the same array from the backend, and it says, okay, I need to set the state again. Here's the new array I got. And that updates the state, which does what? It triggers a component update, which what does what? It triggers this method to run again. So that process continues infinitely, and that's why we have what we call an infinite loop, a loop that runs forever. There's no stopping here, right? Because a state update triggers this method, and then this method triggers a state update, and it continues in a circular manner. So whenever you are going to be using something like setState in a componentDidUpdate lifecycle method, it is very, very important that you wrap it in an if statement. And that if statement is what's going to allow us to not enter into that infinite loop. So let me write out the code here because it's a little bit complicated, but then we'll talk about what it means and how it operates step by step. The first thing you need to know is that the componentDidUpdate method will automatically receive 2 arguments from React each time it runs. The first is going to be the previous props, which means the props before the current iteration, before the current draft, before the current values. And then the second argument will be the previous component state. So the version or the draft before the current state, before the state as it is now. So let me write these 2 parameters in line. The parameters themselves, as far as the names, don't matter, but a very common convention you'll see is prev props, that is short for previous props, and then prev state, which represents previous state. So just to reiterate what this means, this.state will give us the current component state as it is, whatever it is right now at this juncture. In comparison, prev state will give us the last version, the last draft, the last thing it was, the last shape of this object before the current one. And by comparing certain properties on the previous version of the state versus the current one, we're going to be able to determine whether or not we should issue a new API call. So let me write a line out, and then we'll talk about why it works. So right here, I'm going to add an if statement, and I'll say, if prev state dot search term, I am accessing the search term on my previous state or my previous version of the component state. If that does not equal this dot state dot search term, then and only then do I want to run this logic right here. So I'll cut and paste this logic right here, and that should get it to work. So let's walk through this process step by step, because this can be very confusing. So what we have to keep track of is the component's current state and its previous state. Another thing worth noting is that this lifecycle method does not run when the component mounts. So right here, I'm just going to use comments. When the component starts out and initializes, here is what the current version of the state is. This is our first draft, right? This is before any changes. Let's say the user enters a character like M into the input. What happens? React updates the search term property on state. So search term becomes M. So the previous version of search term is an empty string, and the new value of that property is M. Previous was empty. The latest current draft is M. So when we update the state, this lifecycle method runs, and React says, what was the previous value of search term? It was an empty string. Does that not equal the current value, which is M? The answer is yes. An empty string is not equal to the character M. So React says, okay, I realize this thing is something you want to run because you're comparing some old state with some new state. There's been some disparity. Go ahead and run this logic. So we're going to make the API call, which is going to get, of course, all of the employees filtered by the letter M. Okay. Now, what's going to happen at the end of that process? The exact same thing. We're going to hit set state, right? Which means we're going to update the employees to be the new employees filtered array. So right here, I'm just going to write filtered employees. Right? So in comparison to our last version of the state, when we triggered this method, right, we had M for our search term, and our employees array was empty. Now we have that new array of filtered employees that we are saving to state. That will trigger componentDidUpdate to run again, right? Because a piece of state has updated, which means the component is updating. But what's going to happen when this method runs again? Well, React is going to say, this is my current state as it is. The new filtered employees is the latest change, and my search term is still M. So React says, is my previous state's search term, M right here, not equal to my current one of M? The answer is going to be false. They are equal. And because they are equal, this if is going to value to false, which means we're not going to make that request, right? Employees is what is changing, but search term has not changed between the previous version of the state and the current version of the state in this .state. And because we have added that buffer right here, then React will not make that secondary request and trigger an infinite loop. And then the process ends. Okay, and then we repeat the entire flow. So one more time, just very quickly, let's say the next thing the user does is they write another character like MI, right? That triggers a state update, which triggers componentDidUpdate to run again. So then React says, hey, is the previous search term of M not equal to the current search term of MI? The answer is true. So now it has permission to run the API method call again, which is what we want. If the user has entered an additional character, we do want to make a new API request, right? At the end of that request, right here, here's what the state looks like now. At the end of that request, we're going to call setState again with our new batch of filtered employees. And at that juncture, when we call setState, our value of the search term property will still be MI. So when we call setState with employees right here, that will trigger a component update because the state updated. So we'll run this logic again. So this time around, React will say, okay, is MI not equal to MI? Is the previous state not equal to the current state? Once again, this will evaluate to false because the previous state of search term is equal to the current state of search term, and that they're both equal with the string MI. So because that evaluates to false, we don't run this logic again. We don't trigger set state again accidentally, which means we don't cause the infinite loop and cause the method to rerun all over. All right. So with that said, I can now delete these comments and I can show you that everything is still working in our browser. So right now, you'll notice I'm not filtering anything here on my front end, but when I type in, for example, M and then I, you'll notice we filter down to Michael Scott. In fact, I think the JSON server is smarter and it's not just going to filter by name, but by any actual attribute. So for example, if I search for secretary right here, you'll notice it's going to be able to filter for that. That's a nice little quirk, but that's just something to note. The point is that it's filtering. And in addition, what I can do is open my network tab in my browser. So right here, and I can actually show you these requests going out. So for example, when I type M, you'll notice here we are making that request to /employees with a query of M, right? And we're not running into an infinite loop because we are not triggering the componentDidUpdate to run again in such a condition that it would make the API request again. Then when I update the search term one more time with MI, there goes the query for MI, then here's the query for MIC, and so on. Each time we update the employees array with the new batch of filtered employees, here I can show you that here's our response with just one object, right? We're starting out with 5. Now the backend is filtering to 1. We're getting that array of 1. We're overriding our employee's state, which triggers a re-render. And now when we use the map method down below, we only render 1 card because we only have an array with 1 employee in it, right? So that's how the logic is working. And hopefully this has served to demonstrate the purpose of componentDidUpdate. It allows us to hook into these kinds of places where we need a side effect to run at some point during the component's existence. In fact, many times when the component state updates or the prop updates. It's a different use case for something like didMount, which is intended to only be an initialization lifecycle method, something that only runs once, right? With that said, the most important thing to remember about componentDidUpdate is if you are calling setState in this method, you must always have it within a conditional, within an if statement. And that if statement is what you need to ensure prevents a continual infinite loop. So you're going to have an if statement, and in that if statement, you're going to call setState, and that if statement must evaluate to false at some point so you don't continue calling setState over and over again, and thus triggering the component lifecycle method to run over and over again as well. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. If it was a little bit confusing, that's totally fine. This lifecycle method confused me a lot when I started out, but I recommend rewinding the video and walking through our examples step by step so you understand how we compare the previous state with the current state. All right, that's all there is to cover in this lesson, so I will see you in the next one.